Tom Berman. We may know him. So many of you may know him. He is a former member of the Keego Harbor City Council as well as the County Commission. And now he has a new venture in his life, CEO of Nano Magic. Tom, thank you for being with us.
Hey, Ronnie, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's my first time on.
Really?
It is. It is. You guys never invited me when I was a Keego Harbor City Council member or on the board of commissioners. Maybe I'm moving on up. I don't know.
Well, actually, they started this show about a year ago, Tom, out of the COVID-19 crisis as a way to try to keep people informed. Thought it was going to be for about 2 weeks, and here it is a year later.
Well, that's great. Congratulations on that.
So with that, though, I was excited because a lot of people, well, most people may not know, but Tom and I are neighbors. So it's a little weird for me to be talking to you like this because usually it's just across the street. But I'm excited about this new business. But tell us about Nano Magic.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ronnie, and awkward for me too a little bit, as opposed to just yelling across the street. Now I guess we're just yelling through computer screens at the moment.
Right, exactly.
So Nano Magic it's actually a pretty interesting story, and to help you kind of understand maybe how I got here, maybe I can kind of rewind and start from where I started. So, make a long story short, I'm an attorney by education, had a law practice. In my law practice, I primarily focus my practice on corporate representation, real estate transactional practice. Ended up being the outside general counsel to a lot of small to medium-sized businesses. And from there, I ultimately ended up joining a company that I was representing. And I joined that company not only as their outside counsel and going in-house, but becoming the CEO's right-hand man. I've always had more of an entrepreneurial type of mindset and spirit. And even in my law practice and prior to practicing law, I was doing a lot of, entrepreneurial types of things. And you get to a point in your law practice where, you can only bill so many hours in a day. And you're either good with that, or you decide that you want to continue to build that practice and you have to bring in additional attorneys and then obviously more business to support those attorneys that you're bringing in, or you do something differently. So I started to look at what something differently could look like and eventually joined this company. It was called a Skyon, but doing business as Reverie. And Reverie was a mattress and adjustable foundation manufacturer and wholesaler, primarily at the time doing private label manufacturing for Tempur-Pedic. So I joined that company as the CEO's right-hand man. And from there was focused on helping build their brand. We wanted to control our own destiny. And we did some really cool special things. I was there for about 8 years. One of the most meaningful things that I think I did there and, really developed a passion around was not only building a business, but building a culture that helps a business grow substantially faster and better. So really attracting talent, developing that talent, retaining that talent, because I believe great companies are great because of the great people that are there. And if you're going to be at work all day, every day, I want you to be happy doing what you're doing and be happy with the people, that you're doing it with and get each other's backs. And I think that, we were able to do some really cool things because of that mentality, that philosophy. And, it was really cool that we were able to have some reassurance through some third parties that validated that we were doing things the right way to evaluate, our culture, like being named Crane's Cool Places to Work or Free Press Top Companies to Work for, or, best and brightest in the country. So we did some really cool things at Reverie. And, because I started a law practice right out of law school and have that more of an entrepreneurial type of spirit, I felt like it was time for me to go have my own baby. So I told the owners of the organization, it's been fun helping parent your child, but it's time for me to kind of explore what the next chapter looks like. And that led me to now Nano Magic. So you look like you might have a question.
No, it's funny because I've lived across the street from you for how long and didn't realize all of this. But It's great that you've been able to do this. And with that, what advice do you give to other people then? Take the risk, because it's risk.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything in life is calculated risk, right? So, no matter, there's a risk analysis in anything and everything you do. And, I think that, we're seeing that now sometimes in life and death like situations around this whole, pandemic that we're all in, for, this past year. So it's just interesting challenges every single day. But as it relates to business, taking calculated risk, more often than not, big risk equals big reward, but it also means, right, big failure if you don't ultimately succeed. So you just have to weigh out the pros and cons and figure that analysis, understand what your risk tolerance is. And I believe that if you believe in the decision you're making and you put in the time, you put in the work, right? There's no substitute to hard work. I caught the tail end of your interview with Will, and I think that's a great example. And I actually talk about, short-term pain for long-term gain with my team here, that if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? So you got to put in the time, you got to put in the work. And, if you do, I believe that you will ultimately reap, reward from the fruits of your labor.
So tell us about your new baby.
Yeah, my new baby. So it's interesting because I didn't give birth to this baby per se. I was actually working on a startup, and I was really excited about the startup I was working on. And my dad actually tapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I would be interested in partnering with him and taking on a turnaround venture. So that's what Nano Magic was. So to help you better understand, there were two different companies, one based in Austin, Texas, one based in Cleveland, Ohio, both doing nanotechnology in their business, but different types of nanotechnology. And for everybody at home listening, however many people are listening, I hope a lot. I'm assuming probably a lot if you're still here after a year. But nanotechnology is just quite simply just means really, 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 really small at a scale of 100,000 times smaller, thinner than a human hair follicle. So at the lowest, smallest molecular level, doing some really cool science and innovation. So without getting into details of the nanotech of these two different companies, the company in Cleveland, Ohio, was pretty successful, and the company in Austin, Texas, was starting to not be as successful. So Cleveland, Ohio, identified an opportunity to merge and acquire Austin, Texas. They end up merging in 2014. They create parent company. They have two wholly owned subsidiaries. And unfortunately, they never figured out a great way how to integrate with each other. And the total business started to fail. So from 2014 through 2018, they ended up finding themselves really on their deathbed. So without a capital infusion and somebody willing to, step in and help turn around some of the poor decisions that they had made, they would cease to exist. So my dad happened to be on the board of directors of the company, but it wasn't something that he was very active in. It was more about joining a quarterly board call, hear all these great, things that are going on, the potential that there is until it was over or virtually over. So, he took a look at it and felt like, and, we just talked about, short-term pain for long-term gain. He took a look at it and said, I think there's a lot of assets here, and under the right strategy and the right quarterback, I think there's an opportunity to, turn this thing around. So without challenges doesn't come opportunity. And, if it was easy, like we said, everybody would do it. So he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Hey, I know you're looking at doing this startup, but you don't have to just start a business. You can turn a business around." And Marcus Lemonis, if for anybody listening who knows him, has made it actually really famous. He's on CNBC, and it's a TV show called The Profit. And he uses his resources, his team, to go into struggling businesses and help them make better decisions and ultimately turn their business around. And, those are things that you can do, and you can acquire, existing businesses. And sometimes, again, the pro and con type of analysis, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. There's, differences in, as an example, a startup, you've never sold something, you're pre-revenue, you have to put infrastructure in place, you have to bring in a lot of money to get it off the ground. Obviously you can bootstrap things together. It just depends on what kind of scale you're looking at, but there's no guarantee that the market will bear what you're trying to sell them, whether it's a good or a service. If it's new, it might be too early. You need to get early adoption. If it's not new, you have to do it better than somebody else is doing, and there's barriers for entry. But if you turn a company around, there's already some assets there. So maybe you have machinery, equipment, intellectual property, people, infrastructure, systems, softwares, process, actual product that has sold before, and you just got to, fix it. So that's what we decided to do. I took a look at it, and interestingly enough, at first I said, nah, this is kind of messy, not interested. I really like my startup idea. And and what I just said to you is what he said to me. And he said, I think that, again, without challenge doesn't come opportunity. And I think there's big upside here. Give me 6 months of your time. Let's get under the hood. Let's kind of put the little blind in, see how the cards are being dealt, see how, the table feels, and decide if we're going to, push all in or not. And I told him, okay, I'll give you 6 months. And 2 years later, we're still in it, and we've pushed all in, and we're making some really remarkable progress and doing some really cool things. And I'd love to tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, talk about the product.
Yeah. So Nano Magic, we get to the product. So that's what I really loved about the opportunity, is the broad breadth of the product portfolio. So I mentioned nanotechnology. That's what allows our products to perform at a much higher level and of better quality than any of the competitors, or what I would call imitators, out in the market, particularly, from overseas. Every industry battles, with overseas in lower price points, but, quality, just isn't really there, right? And oftentimes the performance besides quality, and they go kind of hand in hand in many ways. So what we do is we have lens cleaning solutions. So I see you're wearing glasses. To clean your glasses, both a spray and a towelette for on the go. In fact, this company, formerly known as Nanofilm, now Nano Magic, we wanted to put the past identity behind us, because there were a lot of bridges that were burnt in the industry, not necessarily with the consumer, because they were never a consumer company. They were primarily a private label manufacturer. So Luxottica, that you may or may not have heard of, but you've heard of their brands. They own Oakley and Revo and all the big frame brands, but they also own Lens Crafters, Pearl Vision, Target Optical, Sears Optical, Sunglass Hut. This company, Nanofilm, was the private label manufacturer of their lens cleaning solutions. And then also the SVS Visions, VisionWorks, Henry Ford Optimize, and the list goes on and on. This was a really great business, but they were doing it for those brands. Well, I came in and I said, they have a tried, true, and tested formula. And that's exactly what we have, is we have some really incredible formulas powered by nanotechnology. So we felt really good about going direct consumer and building a brand that way. And then also through, retail partners, besides doing some of the private label manufacturing. So we have lens cleaning solution. We have screen cleaner. Your cell phone, believe it or not, is like 10 times dirtier than a public toilet seat. And there's a lot of scientific studies out there, and you're touching it, you're putting it on your face, you're putting it down, your hands, you're rubbing your face, not hygienic at all.
Right,
so
very dirty.
So that's a real emerging market opportunity. And then we have anti-fog solution. And, pre-pandemic, because now we've been in this for about 2 years, pre-pandemic, we really loved all the opportunities in all of these different verticals. And the pandemic, luckily for us, has been good to us, because basically what we do is, we create nanotechnology powered solutions that clean, protect, and enhance products for peak performance. So as an example, anti-fog, it was always in demand for scuba, skiing, hockey visors fogging up, first responders, military. In fact, this was designed for Navy SEALs initially, out on the battlefield to ensure that the scopes on their rifles or the goggles that they were wearing would not fog up, to give them clear vision in even the most extreme conditions. And that's now translated today, fast forward to during this pandemic, literally just wearing a mask, having your glasses fog up, going to the grocery store. So we've seen a real accelerated demand for our anti-fog solutions just at the normal household level, besides some of those other applications that I talked about. So we're doing some pretty cool things there with our brand, Nano Magic. You can find us at nanomagic.com. We just rolled out to our first big box retailer partner, Walgreens. Be on the lookout for more coming soon. Some really exciting things, happening. But then in our product portfolio, we also have industrial applications. So think of like a toilet, to keep that toilet cleaner longer, easier to clean, and scratch and abrasion resistant. So it can be an aftermarket where you could add that to your toilet, or during the manufacturing process, the manufacturer of that toilet can apply it, and it's like easy, clean performance. So, almost think of like a whiteboard where, you try to, use a Sharpie or a dry erase marker, and it will just wipe right off. That's the type of tech that, that we're doing, and we apply to any sort of glass, porcelain, or ceramic surface.
These are things that we don't really think about, but we need. And Tom, about another minute here with you on the show. When it comes to trying to expand a business in the middle of a pandemic, what's it been like for you?
So very challenging. During the pandemic, we've seen longer lead times for raw materials. We've seen increased pricing. One of the chemicals that we use in our formulas is isopropanol, and isopropanol is used in hand sanitizer. So, that's been rationed, and the price has gone up like 500%. So there's been a lot of challenges, just even people, finding good people. But we've been really lucky in that the demand for our products has increased, and it's allowed us to, perform well. And, unlike some other businesses that have really struggled during this pandemic. So we're lucky and fortunate. And over the last few months, we've actually moved from Cleveland to the Detroit metro area, which is very important to me. I've been traveling to Cleveland for the last 2 years. I know you were driving there for a little while too. But we're now here in Madison Heights in Oakland County, and we've hired over 30 people in the last 90 days. So, we're manufactured right here in the USA, and we are putting people to work, and we're looking for more good people every single day. And I think we're building something really special right here in Oakland County.
Tom, we're sorry we're out of time for the day, but we want to let everyone know it's a great conversation and a great company. And the anti-fog for your glasses, we are all experiencing that right now. So Tom Berman, with the CEO for Nano Magic, go on to nanomagic.com for more information. And also, if you're looking for a great company to work with.